So let me ask you this. So you have this pouvoir, this sort of elite network of opaque power brokers, as you describe them, that did I suppose decide that Bouteflika has to go, and he went. What opportunities in that interregnum, in the days after Bouteflika's ouster, were there to impact, to influence the pouvoir in like a more meaningful way towards real reforms? And Tin, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thanks. So in 2019, many would argue that, Algeria had a historic opportunity to really dismantle the regime and go towards, meaningful structural change. However, the issue was that the military, and at the time, General Ahmed Gaid Saleh, was adamant that the regime and the system would continue. One needs to understand that, and here, to be honest, I think both Andrew and I are quite pro-Iraq, so I'm going to try and play the devil's advocate and present the counter argument and a very common critique that people make towards the Iraq, and it's the idea that the popular movement actually failed to come up with representatives and that it did not put forward any serious alternative for political change or for a peaceful democratic transition. And this is why it failed to achieve success and the regime was able to stay in power. But if it's true that the Hirak is very much a horizontal movement, it is a leaderless movement, it's simply not factual to say that the movement did not put forward roadmaps for achieving a peaceful political transition. There were actually dozens of potentially fruitful political initiatives in 2019, but also in 2020. And this is just a recent one that appeared yesterday. The problem was that all these political initiatives emerging from the Algerian civil society were, faced a very stubborn army that perceives itself as the legitimate ruler of the country. And here I'm just going to say a little note for your audience that might not know much about Algeria, is that the problem of the resilience of this political system that has proven its inefficiency in developing the country and in creating decent living standards for its people's aspirations, at least, is very much rooted in Algeria's colonial history and Algeria's path for independence. So the National Liberation Front, the FLN, Front de Libération Nationale, emerged in 1962 mainly as the sole actor with historical legitimacy because it played a critical role in the country's decolonization, right? And so after independence, it managed to centralize power and rule the country. And until today, more than 60 years after independence, people still, the army still perceives itself as the sole legitimate ruler of the country. And so it's a very hard system to dismantle. It's a complicated system to overthrow. And so despite the many roadmaps for achieving a peaceful democratic transition, the Hirak has so far failed to implement any significant change.